What's up, fam? Welcome back to Recap Kickback, your podcast where we talk about Black TV, Black movies, entertainment, news, all that good stuff, or just whatever we want to talk about. I'm your host, Chappell, and I am back again to give you a special episode of Recap Kickback where we're not going to focus on one thing. We're going to focus on 10 things.
Yeah.
10 things that best describe my lovely co-host here, the shows that made her. We're going to talk about Mari and her 10 best TV shows of all time. Mari.
Yes. Hi. I'm glad to be here. Introduce myself to the audience for people who might not know. Put together a list of TV shows that mean something to me. And this was very hard because I watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
So this will be interesting. Trying to just get it down to 10, stay on topic. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. First of all, thank you all for listening. Number one, first and foremost, if you're here listening to Recap Kickback, thank you so much for listening, for subscribing. Hopefully you subscribed. If not, what are you doing? Recapkickback.com/subscribe. Go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/@recapkickback, and make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can show love to the podcast because we're coming up on our year anniversary. It'll be 1 year in February for Black History Month, obviously. That we started Recap Kickback. And so we want to just show our appreciation by bringing you all fresh new content and talk about the movies and the TV shows that you want to talk about. So as Mari said, it's been about a year and we haven't really got to know my co-host too well. Like, we know her through what we talk about on the shows, but let's get into the shows that brought us Mari. How did we get here? And so today we're going to talk through Mari's top 10 TV shows. And y'all, I want to tell y'all it was a journey. It was a journey to get to this point. So I told Mari, I need you to do 10 TV shows and 10 movies. And you would have thought I told Mari to do, some type of Korean calculus or something like that.
I don't like homework.
She loves homework. This lady is a full-blown scientist. She loves homework.
I am a multifaceted human being. I cannot distill myself to 10 movies and television shows in such a tiny space of time.
Yeah. And look, I know we talk about Black shows and Black entertainment first and foremost here, but I didn't want to limit this to just Black shows because obviously we watch a lot of stuff. And later on, I do have a game in mind that we can play with some Black shows, but that'll be for further down the line. Today, we're just trying to get to what makes Mari tick, what gets Mari going in the TV streets. And then one day, we'll give her the impossible task of picking 10 movies as well. But today, we're focus on TV shows. So I'm going to interview first, okay? I just want to know, Mari, coming up, how big of a part of your life was watching television? Because you have to have got an early start to be as well versed in TV as you are.
Yes, yeah, I was one of those kids. I love TV. I don't know what about it, but I've always been a visual learner and visually absorbing things. Don't get me wrong, I love to read too. If anybody knows, I love to read a good book. But I always thought that TV and seeing it in your imagination was just so amazing. And I mean, so much so that I remember I was 8. And back in our day, when you had to just either watch the guide roll and just try to figure out what was on, or actually use the TV guide. There was this little magazine, y'all, called TV Guide. It was a little book, and it told you what time things came on. I remember during the summer, and in order, because I played outside too, so I had to organize my playing outside time around my TV show time, because again, y'all, back in the day, if you missed that show,
you missed the show.
There was no DVRs. There was no rewinding. Unless you had the VHS and taped it, you wasn't seeing it if you missed it. You'd have to wait till they decided to show it again. So I would for the whole summer, I would write down my favorite shows, what times they came on, a whole little schedule, a poster board schedule of all right, I'm going outside between this time and this time. I got to be back to watch Ed, Ed and Eddie. I got to be back to watch That's So Raven. Like I had it all planned out, which day, whatever. I had my whole day scheduled, and so I wouldn't miss my favorite TV shows. And I was a kid that had to be watching TV at night. Like my TV always had to be on at night watching something, you know.
That's incredible.
Either TV. I watched a lot of I Love Lucy because
it was on. It was on at night. It was on at night.
Yeah.
Mari,
stuff like that.
That's incredible. I love this this story because we grew up, we're around the same age, and so like I feel like there's a place in time where you and I were watching the same show at the exact same time, just across the world from each other, and that's kind of incredible. Because
it's unifying.
Yeah, really. And I know you said you read a lot of books. I do too. What is it about books and TV that you really latch onto? Is it like escapism? Do you just like being able to get outside of your typical world that you're in?
Yes, it's always been that. Like I always read and watch TV shows for escapism. I don't watch, like me and you have had fights over book reading because you famously say like nonfiction books don't count, or no, sorry, not books only count reading if they're nonfiction. I don't read nonfiction at all. All I read is fiction books and sci-fi and historical fiction and stuff like that. Because if I want to read or watch what's going on in the world or whatever, like I can do that. I don't want to. Like I'm trying to get away from that. So that's always been for me, like reading and TV. It's always been about escaping to new and different worlds, and that's why like the TV shows that I watch and we'll be talking about is like very eclectic. Like I watch a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be very fun to break that all down.
Yes, and I am excited because like I said, I gave Mari an assignment. I said give me 10, but Mari watched so many TV shows that this is probably an impossible task. And so Mari is going to give us, and this is not a ranking, this is just the 10 shows that in whatever order. We're going to talk about how they impacted Mari and then just talk about them in general. And maybe Mari has some shows that are a blind spot to me, and we can note that later on in case we ever want to go back and explore some of Mari's favorite shows from my point of view. So I think that'll be a fun exercise. So Mari, tell us the show that is up first. What's one of the first shows that you would consider the best TV show according to Mari?
I have to say this TV show because it's the show I referenced it a lot on podcasts. It truly did, unfortunately, shape not only me but a whole entire generation. South Park literally probably is like my favorite. It's not probably, it's my favorite TV show.
Really?
Like, it really is. Okay, because I literally was 8 years old. I remember the summer. The summer I was at my grandma's house in the summer, like bouncing back between my grandma's house, my two aunties' house in the summer in Florida, 8 with me and my 2 other cousins who were the same age, younger and younger than me. And South Park premiered and nobody knew what it was. So they let us watch it and we're watching it. Yeah, it's a foul-mouthed TV show where all these kids are literally cussing, and we were watching it and I was like, this is hilarious. And I watched it all that summer, I believe. And then like my mom found out and I told my mom what it is. I told her I like the show. And just the relationship that me and my mom has always like taught me to be able to come to her, giving me responsibilities and only taking it away if I can't handle it. So she would always tell me, she was like, you can watch this, it's fine, but you better not repeat a thing they say. You better not, do anything they do, or you can't anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like the level of trust she had with me to watch what she deemed as garbage television, but feeling like she taught me well enough to be able to parse through it. And I did. It's amazing the filter I had as a kid. around my parents. It was like the moment I'm around my parents, that filter just flipped, shut down. The moment I was out,
Yeah, you
foul
passed
mouth.
it. Yeah.
I love a good cuss. I love cussing.
Yeah.
Cussing is one of my
Wow.
favorite pastimes.
You sound like that little bad kid. You know, like I love I love doing bad things. I love smoking with cigarettes, you know, doing hood rat shit with my friends.
Yes. Exactly. My mama didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. Mari, so I
Mhm.
remember when South Park was out, and I remember
Mhm.
the adults were watching it, and so of course I was like, let me go
Really?
see. Yeah, because like the adults around me, they wanted to watch it, but also they wanted to gatekeep it, which made me want to watch it even more because I'm like,
That's
well,
interesting.
what are y'all watching that I can't watch? But then when I
Mhm.
saw it, I was like, oh no, this is for grown-ups. I'm not gonna watch this. So we actually so honestly, I've probably seen maybe 25 episodes of South Park. And I know there's
Really?
probably close to 300
Yeah,
in
it's still going. These recent ones have been a little just like, The Simpsons and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um yeah, like so that's so interesting, Chappelle, because so I love South Park so much. I had them on DVD, like a lot of the seasons, like either the seasons or just like episode packs on DVD.
Mhm.
Um my currently right now, if I had my tablet next to me, my screen shot on it is a South Park picture. Every laptop,
Yes.
every laptop that I had up until college, my screensaver was Cartman. I don't know if you watched the episode that Cartman went on Maury. Did you ever watch that
That
episode?
is that whatever,
Whatever,
I do
whatever.
what I
I do
want.
what I
I do
want.
what I want.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was a picture of Cartman in that outfit
Yeah.
on my laptop. Like that was my screensaver for every laptop I had up until I graduated college. Like that's how much I love South Park. I would get on the like website, play all of the South
The
Park
games.
games.
Yeah.
I would read all of the episode guides. South Park has a running through line where the visitors, like aliens, are in like every episode. I would research every way how Kenny died,
Right.
what Kenny would say. There's full websites that just transcribe what Kenny says. I don't know if we should we. I don't know if I should have like broken down South Park more or
For
whatever,
for
but
the
it's just
uninitiated, if you want, I mean,
yeah.
South Park starts in 1997, and
Mhm.
it's created by a duo, I believe, right? Like,
Yeah, Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
And
and
it
it's
is the story of some kids.
for it's a story of four kids: Stan, Kenny, Kyle, and Cartman, Eric Cartman, and it's just like them going through their day to day stuff. But it's satire. It's so irreverent, and it was it was novel in its time because they were cursing. It was a animated show that cursed,
Mhm.
and it was just not normal back then. Like nowadays, like adult animation is a whole genre. It's
Mhm.
actually one of my favorite genres. I'm trying to limit how many like animated shows I actually put on this list because I like adult animation is my like kind of my favorite genre. That's why I would go to sleep too. Like your South
Mhm.
Parks, your Simpsons, your Family Guys,
Drawn
uh,
together?
Drawn Together is so good, so underrated. I mean, I can pull some out. Duckman,
Yes,
like
Duckman.
yes, The Critic, stuff like that.
Yes,
Like
the
I,
critic. The Tick. Does the Tick count? That's adult to
uh,
me.
well, the new one is even more adult.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, like stuff like that. I love those type of like just out there animation, like animated TV shows and stuff like that. And South Park started that. South Park started it. Like it's so much that like me and my husband play a game. Like if South Park's on, he'll turn to South Park. I'll watch like 10 to 15 seconds of it, and I can give you the title of the episode and the year it came out. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
I South Park is like it is my favorite show.
So
Um,
so I knew
mhm,
that about you. I knew that about you, and but like I did not know to the extent. Like I knew you were a South Park fan, but I did not know it got this deep. This is very cool. Yeah, we have 9 other shows to get through. I know you could talk about South Park 4 days. Is there anything else you want to leave us with from South Park before we move on to the next?
No, it's just funny how groundbreaking that show is and how like great it was for its time. The problem is it's like they if look up, anybody who's listening, look up South Park Generation and how people have now come to like it was a like, oh, this is negative influence to like, oh, this is like a positive influence back to a negative influence. Like it talks about how South Park taught a whole generation about how to basically not care about what was going on. And it's a very interesting read if you look up like South Park nihilism and stuff like that. But I still love it. I think they still are really good at doing like commentary about what's happening now. It's in like major events because that was their bread and butter. So stuff would happen and they would react to it in real time. They could make the show in 6 days or 6 to 7 days to air. So that was its strength. It just like nowadays it's just kind of like everything is kind of like satire is slowly dying because reality is satire at this point.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? So it's
That's
kind
fair.
of weird. Yeah. But it's my favorite show.
All right, Mari, what's show number 2 on the best TV shows of all time, according to Mari?
Okay. Let's see. Where should we go from here? All right, let's start our journey with reality TV.
Okay.
All right, let's go with stuff that people should know about me relatively, right? We gotta go with Big Brother. Big Brother is the reality TV show that shaped me. I've just recently talked about it on the retrospective with Taryn, but I like tripped, fell, and stumbled into Big Brother around BB5, and then haven't looked back. You know, I've rewatched the seasons over and over again. I went back. The only thing I protest will not watch BB1. Like I don't.
Not watching BB1 is not a personality trait, Mari.
It is. For me, it is. I refuse. But Big Brother, there's something about like, especially those original seasons when you're just seeing a whole bunch of strangers put in a house. You know, it not in the real world way, because I was a fan of real world at this time. Like I've always been a fan of like real world, road rules, the challenge. Like I've watched the original, the challenge, Battle of the Sexes, all that. I love that. But Big Brother adding like strategy to it. I've said this before. I like the cast twists, those early cast twists, like in the early seasons. I used to love those. Yes, put somebody in the house who has an estranged sibling that they don't know about.
Well, let's talk about. So for the people who don't really watch Big Brother, they're trapped in a house. It's a strategy game. They vote each other out. There's only one winner. It's like Survivor, but in a house. Mari, you're talking about these twists. These twists were unhinged. For example, estranged siblings that had never met before. They didn't even know they were related. They're in the house. They put twins in the house, but didn't tell everybody it was twins and just let them swap out every other day. And then on top of all that, the Big Brother 4 twist of your worst ex is in the house as well. Not just your ex, but your worst ex is trapped in the house with you, and you had no clue going in. This would have been my 13th reason.
So unhinged. I loved it. Project DNA, gagged them. Like, do not assume. I remember that summer being like, they did not. There are 2 people in the house that don't know they're related.
That's
like,
crazy. Them people need to be sued. They should have sued them.
And then season 6, and then they put their whole ass foot in season 6, where they cast people with a secret duo, and everybody had a secret duo. So much so, I've been clamoring for another Big Brother season where people have secret duos in the house. We just got Suri and Jared, which should not have been a secret duo since they look exactly alike. But a whole season of it, y'all, like a whole season of Secret Duos was just so entirely fun. It gave us the split house dynamic. It gave us one of the best seasons of reality television ever. Like they need to do that again. Like Big Brother is it's transcendent for me because not only was it a show that I started watching as I was younger, it really introduced me to social media. Like the only reason why I really got into social media was keeping up with Big Brother and keeping up with people who like Big Brother because it was always just me. Like
Right. I was going to ask you, Mara, you famously talk too much, but you couldn't have been talking about Big Brother with nobody because it's hard to find another Big Brother fan around these parts.
So hard. It's so hard to find IRL Big Brother fans. And like you literally, you literally have to turn people into Big Brother fans. Like I had to like force my husband to watch it with me. I had to force my best friends to watch them with me, and they'll watch them with me. But as soon as they're not in proximity, they don't watch anymore, or they're casuals, like or they stayed casuals. Meanwhile, I'm up at 2 a.m. watching people holding a button. You know what I'm saying? Like it was always so deep for me. So when I was watching the live feeds or reading the recaps, and then finally in 2016, I had already been on Twitter, but I had been on Twitter since 2011, but I hadn't really been engaging on Twitter until like, you got your Scandal Thursdays really kind of jump started all that. But the whole realizing that you could watch TV with other people across the world on Twitter, and it was Big Brother, like BBOTT really got me in like onto these Big Brother streets, and I haven't been back, and because of that I found RHAP, and now we're here. So like Big Brother has like completely changed my life, literally. And it is my favorite reality show.
Yeah, Big Brother's such a great show. Like you said, without Big Brother, you and I are not sitting here talking to each other on Recap Kickback. It is a fact. Like the butterfly effect is crazy, but it is a fact that Big Brother brought us here together at the same time. Mark, I still remember our first Big Brother podcast together. It was me, you, Brent, and Rob, and we had the people in shambles. Okay, I think they came to see Brent kind of pack us up. Like, oh, who are these new kids out here trying to podcast over? And they just were not prepared for what happens when the two of us mix. I don't even know each other that well. I think that was our first time really having a conversation together, but it was just kind of like, you talk Big Brother, you Black, you speak my language, so let's go. And the rest is history. What could you say to the people who are listening to this who've never seen Big Brother? You got 10 seconds. Convince somebody to watch Big Brother.
If you want to just see society play out in a house 24/7 unfiltered, like, it's the show for you. I'm gonna leave it at that. There's so many criticisms that come to my head when I say that, but it literally is the most unfiltered reality TV show that you're gonna get.
Yeah, 24-hour live feeds will do it, y'all. You can can watch the show, or you can get really involved and watch these people when the cameras are not airing the television part of the show, and that's the part that you don't know you need until you get it. Okay, so I will rubber stamp what Mari was saying. Go watch Big Brother. Mari, what's number 3 on your list?
Like I said, I'm gonna stay with reality TV. So I have to go with Drag Race, my other favorite reality TV show. Just something about the creativity of Drag Race. Like, and when I tell you I'm a day one OG logo Drag Race fan. Like, I'm telling you, I'm just like flipping through channels. Was it 2009? 2009, flipping through channels in college. That's what it was. In college, we got like 7 channels. And for some reason, logo was one. Love it. And so I was like, what is this? I just remember watching it. I was like, oh my God, this is great. And then like, I just remember like year after year, it would be one of those things that I would stumble upon. I would be like, RuPaul, okay, yes, there's another season 2. Like, let's go, season 3, season 4. It wasn't until season 5 that I was like, oh, so this is like here to stay, and this is like they're on a schedule. You know what I'm saying? Like, And season 5, I always tell people, if you're gonna watch Big Brother, the first 3 seasons you should watch is seasons 5, 6. Yeah, you do 5. You do 5. No, you do 5, All Stars 2, and then 6.
of
Yes,
RuPaul's Drag Race.
of RuPaul's Drag Race. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
So funny you say that because I have the cast of All Stars 2, I believe, up here in
yes,
front of me. Is that what
yes,
this
you
is?
do. Yes, yes, yes. This is the cast of All Stars 2, and half of the cast of All Stars 2 is from season 5, because that's how good season 5 is. Season 5 is one of the best seasons of Drag Race, and because of that, All Stars 2 is my favorite All-Star season. It is. It's my favorite All-Star season, hands down. The rewatchability is ridiculous. The lip syncs are amazing. So if you aren't familiar with RuPaul's Drag Race, it's a drag competition show where drag queens compete to become America's next drag superstar. And they do so by doing mini challenges that require just something really small, and then main stage challenges that can either be like fashion based, like balls, it could be a comedy skit based, like Snatch Game, or it could be like a music challenge where they write a verse and have to do music. So the challenge could be anything. And then at the end of every episode, they also do a themed runway. There's always a themed runway, like opulence or yellow, and it's always something like catchy name for it. And then at the end, the people who do the worst that week have to lip sync for their life. They get one more chance to save themselves. The 2 people have to lip sync against each other. One sachets away, one stays. So it is such a fun show, and to watch it really blossom from like just a small reality competition on Logo to like literally taking over the world on not only VH1 now, but it on MTV. So it's just like, and not only that, but like being exposed to the LGBTQ community through Drag Race, being exposed to like trans people and hearing their stories through Drag Race, and all of the challenges that these people have gone through. Like everybody makes fun of the mirror talks and like they're getting ready for the makeup and they're always saying some heartbreaking story, but those stories reach people who have never encountered people in that community. So like I love that show, and I think watching that show for as long as I have, it helps me. It helps make me a better ally, for the LGBTQ community. So it's just, I just love that show. I truly do. I support all my favorite queens. I've been to so many of their shows. I try and support local drag as well. It's just so fun, and it's one of my favorite shows that I watch with like my kids.
Yeah. So I'd heard about Drag Race, I guess in passing, because I watch a lot of reality TV, and I never was interested. I was like, I don't know anything about drag queens. It just didn't appeal to me. And then I heard, hey y'all, this season on RuPaul's Drag Race, start voting each other out. We're gonna start this. We're about to Big Brother-fy this show, and I said, wait a minute, you have my attention. So I actually watched RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star Season 2. This is my first season of the show. I've only seen a few seasons, but they're all All-Star seasons because those are ones that they get to cut each other's throats. Yeah. And I feel like that appealed to me. And so I did watch Drag Race Season 2, and I agree. I really enjoyed it. I think that it's probably less insightful than the original one, the original run of Drag Race. They're really getting into these people's stories. You're really talking about the growth and development of a lot of people who are using drag to change their lives. That said, by the time they get to All Stars, it's cutthroat. And they're out here battling and lip syncing for their legacies. Okay. And that's how you go get your faves on RuPaul's Drag Race. I think this is a good pick. And again, of the shows you've named, I would have gotten them all so far. If I had to guess Mari's shows, I am not shocked by any of these.
Yeah. And you probably won't be shocked, but by the next 2, maybe.
Well, let's see it. Mari, what is next up on your list? Are we up to number 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We are at number 4, and we have to go sciencey, right?
Okay.
So we have to talk about the train wreck that has mercilessly been the bane of my existence since 2005. It's been about 20 years of toying with our hearts. I've gotten off the ride, gotten back on the ride, gotten off the ride, and gotten right back on the ride because I am a masochist and I love pain. We got to talk about Grey's Anatomy.
Yes. Boo, 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 boo. Yes. Talk about it, Mari. Tell the people what they missing. Tell them why they should have never left the train.
My God, Meredith Grey. Grey's
Meredith
Anatomy
Grey
follows Meredith Grey, who starts off as a surgical intern at Seattle Grace. I almost forgot the original name of that stupid hospital. Because this hospital is the most cursed hospital ever. These people don't deserve the mess that they've been through. And I don't know how I watched this show and said, yes, this is the line of work I want to get into, because this show should scare anybody away from a hospital. Mm-hmm. But, for those who don't know, Grey's Anatomy, it's been on since 2005. It's still on, like, my God.
To this day.
Give it a rest. To this day. And I have, like, so I started watching it in 2005. Like, I fell off of it. I fell off of it for a minute. Mostly probably like college, because in college you don't keep up with a lot. And then after college, I just remember coming back to it. And of course, when I came back to it, it was the season 6 finale. We all need trauma where a guy is shooting people in a hospital. And I just remember
you saw that and was like, more.
Exactly. I was like, why? Like, Christina Yang is the best character ever. I almost left with her. They do black women so dirty on this
and
show.
by they, we mean a black woman, Shonda Rhimes.
Yes, Shonda Rhimes. Count your days, Shonda Rhimes. And it's just tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. Hospital shooting, airplane crash, lightning hit something.
Ferry boat, bomb inside the hospital, you name it. It's all over the place.
A musical episode.
Woo! That's the biggest, most egregious thing the show has ever done. Is that and giving Bailey OCD. But
shout out to Sarah Ramirez though.
Yeah, they cool. They cool.
They good.
They didn't need. Yeah, they didn't need that though.
So it's just like, Chappell, please come on. I know you're a big Grey's fan. Help me out.
I'm a big Grey's person.
I don't know why I'm still here. I don't know why I came back.
I'm a big Grey's person, but you're not wrong. The show is traumatic from beginning to end. But I would say that Grey's has probably one of the best pilot episodes of any show, because I've yet to see somebody watch the pilot and think, I don't like this. Like, every time. Now, you don't know what you're about to get into. You have no clue what the ride you're about to go on. But the first maybe like 8 or 9 seasons, you're in it. You're in it from episode to episode. You see people breaking the law for love, breaking the law for science. We see all types of tragedies amongst these doctors. We've seen them get put to the ringer, and the show as today is almost unrecognizable compared to the show at the beginning as far as like the cast goes. We have lost so many of the cast members to just life just changes, and but they have managed to keep this Grey's Anatomy format going for 20 damn years. And so I am not shocked that this is on your list, but I do have a question. I know you said like this is the perfect thing you needed right before going into the medical profession, but Mari, did you feel like Grey's impacted you in any way as far as going into the medical profession? Because to me it feels like I would have watched this show and been like, no, I'm good, no thanks.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know why I still decided to go in, but no, I had already decided I was going to be a medical technologist. So like Grey's luckily doesn't deal with our side, except for when they're yelling random things. I'm like, that's not how that works. But sure. Like, oh no, blood. Anyways, but no, I've always been a science nerd. I've always been a math and science nerd since I was younger. So um I always wanted to do science, but I knew I didn't want to be a doctor.
Right, right,
Maybe
right, right.
Grace did teach me I didn't
Yeah,
want to be a
Grace
doctor.
did. Yeah, you were like, I want to be in the background. You know what I'm saying? A background Grace character. Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to be a doctor or a nurse. So I
Mhm.
tried to figure something else out. And I think the next show really helped me figure out my career path. Anything else on Grays before I move to my
No,
next one?
no, but I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably know what Grays is and either are avoiding it because you're just like, I'm not going to go get sunk into that, or you have watched it and have tapped out, like so many people who just care about their own mental health and their own emotional being. Me, on the other hand, I'm in it and I'm covering Grey's Anatomy on the Crying Laughing podcast with our former guests, Ariel and Dr. Amanda. Once a month, we pop in to talk about the month in Grey's because I'd be damned if I cover that show weekly for the rest of my life. So that's Grey's Anatomy. If you want to check that out, check out the Crying Laughing podcast with Dr. Amanda and Ariel. Mari, what's next?
So the show that solidified a career path for me, the original CSI. Um,
Really?
yes, back in the day, I used to love CSI. Like some Gil Grissom, you know,
Yeah.
Sarah. I loved it. I loved it. I thought CSI was so good. And CSI, again, another show that completely changed the cultural zeitgeist of like our country. CSI premiered. I can't remember when it premiered, but I remember I was very
2000?
young. Yes, something it was like I was very, very young when CSI premiered. And I remember watching it and being like, this is the science I want to do. Like, look at
Look at these
I
babies.
love it. Like, I loved science. Okay, CSI follows the Los Angeles Police Department, CSI division. What was it? Gil Grissom, Sarah Seidel. What was Marge Helgenberg's character's name? I forget her character's name. But like, they would go out to crime scenes and using the latest crime scene technology, they would solve the case. And I just absolutely love this because that's what at my core, I'm a problem solver. I
Mm,
love problem solving. Give me a problem, I will do my darndest to solve it on top of loving science. So
mhm.
CSI is what I was like, this is the laboratory. This is what I want to do between medical technology and forensic science. This is what it was. And I say CSI changed our culture because people learn like how to remove fingerprints off of things on CSI.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the technology, a lot of it was kind of shown in a kind of it could be like a corny seen as a corny way now,
Hmm.
but it really did as a culture of the true crime, like all of us true crime people, it elevated our knowledge of criminals and how to track down criminals and ushered in like the criminal minds and NCISs of the world and stuff like that. CSI or Law and Order SVUs, like CSI and Law and Order SVU, it was always like it was always back and forth for me. But I absolutely love CSI. I absolutely love when they would reconstruct the crime scene. It's just one of my favorite shows.
So I didn't know this about you, but I do
Hmm.
think that it makes sense. Like you said,
Yeah,
all this goes along with what I know about Mari. Especially when, I mean, we've just said the words crime scene like 8 times. You then
yeah,
go and name a podcast, Crime Scene, that you've been
yes.
hosting for a couple years now. So,
Yeah.
you can obviously see the impact this show has had on your life.
Yeah, and I have my master's in forensic science, a graduate certificate in forensic DNA and serology. So, and it was a career path that I wanted to pursue at one point in time. It's just that I didn't want to I didn't want to leave the DMV area, and
Mm,
it's just not enough jobs up here for that. Like it's super, super competitive. So, I loved when I tell you I got my master's in like 2.5 years. it was the easiest degree I've ever gotten because it did not. Yeah, exactly. It did not feel like work. I loved every second of it. And CSI is a big thing like it's a big reason for that, and it's why I love true crime. Like, this opened my doors to watching like the Snaps of the world, all the true crime documentaries that me and Sarah cover over on the Crime Scene Pod that you can check out by going to crimescenepod.com and subscribing wherever you get your podcast. That's Crime, SEEN. It really opened up my love of true crime, because like whenever I'm in a slump, like, because sometimes true crime gets a little too dark, like we all have parts.
Yeah, Mari. Yeah, true crime be dark.
so when it sometimes when it gets dark, I just go over to like the fake true crime. I just watch my CSI. I just watch Law and Order SVU. So I'm still kind of I'm still getting that. Yeah, I'm still getting that fix, but I know that it's fake, so it's okay. Like, nobody's been harmed.
My friend will like call me or text me, or because I'm, me and you talk a lot of TV. So obviously, when we're talking to our friends, we're always like, "So what y'all watching? Have you seen such and such?" And she's like, "No, I just rewatching Criminal Minds." I'm like, "Are you okay?"
I love Criminal Minds. Criminal Minds is so
but
good.
Are you okay? It's like you can't be okay if this is what you're choosing to do for leisure. Right.
Yeah, it's fun. Like, we love people who love solving crimes and being analytical, love solving fake crimes, and we like watching it. So that's fine. We're fine.
I guess. Okay. Yeah, sure, fine. Look, I cannot relate to this one. I could probably count on one hand how many episodes of CSI I've seen. It's not my bag. If you had said Law and Order SVU, I've seen a lot more shows of episodes of that, but I also wasn't following it. It's just a great show. Like for me, it didn't have to be. It's not about the crime. It's just like, I just love Olivia and
exactly. And that's why. And that's why, like, it really could have been one of two, but I went with CSI because honestly, when I was younger, I was all about CSI. The problem is CSI didn't have that lasting power that SVU does. I think mostly because they tried to stay very within the technology. You're kind of limited because honestly, those CSI people were doing stuff that CSI don't do. Like, they're not going in with the SWAT team. Let's be real. You know what I'm saying? Like, they would just be sitting in a lab, but they can't do that on TV. And so, and you don't have those cultural referencing episodes in CSI. Like, there's not I can think of literally one episode from CSI that stuck with me my whole entire life. Meanwhile, you can go over to Law and Order SVU and think of a multitude because it's
straight out the news.
It's straight out of the news, exactly.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say CSI opened that door for me. It opened that whole genre for me.
Okay, so are we gonna stay dark? Is that where we at, Mari? Are you just that dark and twisty, Christina Yang?
No. Well, okay,
maybe
this is lighter, but darker because why did all these kids got to go through all of this? So I have to go with,
oh God, I know what you're about to say.
The show that literally kind of raised me.
That's why y'all know what side she was in the feud. Y'all know what side she was.
It goes there.
She was Team Drake. Y'all knew it.
I was. I was Team Jimmy. Jimmy.
I heard that
Jimmy.
Okay. Look, Degrassi. It went there. It went there. It really did. Mari, tell me why you love Degrassi so much.
I love Degrassi so much. Let me tell you how much I love Degrassi. Okay. Degrassi, I love Degrassi because it just so happened that when it premiered in 2001, and we're talking about Degrassi The Next Generation.
Yeah.
When Degrassi The Next Generation premiered in 2001, I was the exact same age as the kids on that show. So gotcha. I literally watched all of that series. I mean, I even watched Next Class. And in 2 seconds, I'm going to tell you how I went back and I watched Degrassi High, Degrassi Junior High, and I had the whole box set of the 1980s Degrassi show. Okay. But right now, I'm going to talk about Degrassi: The Next Generation.
Okay.
Watching that episode, for the uninitiated, Degrassi: The Next Generation is a high school based TV show about teens, and it's just like daily life of teens. It's like it's one of those shows where it's like, this is what's really happening in the schools, and it's always like a very special episode, or it's always like, oh, she did this. And I remember first off the first episode where Emma thinks she's talking online to a 13-year-old boy, but of course she's talking to a 20-some-old pedophile trying to get her, which just amazing pilot. When you talk about amazing pilots, an amazing pilot for what is, again, Degrassi: The Next Generation. So this is for us in the America, like, I think I'm sure about this, but Degrassi: The Next Generation was the first Degrassi iteration that was originally aired in America. They then later went back and aired like Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High, because Degrassi, the whole series itself is based on a show from the 1970s, The Kids of Degrassi Street in Canada. And it went from The Kids of Degrassi Street in the 70s to Degrassi Junior High in the 80s and Degrassi High in the 80s/90s. And then it came back in the 2000s as Degrassi: Next Generation. And Next Generation premiered on like Teen Nick or The Inn, whichever one, or Noggin. Yeah, here in America. And when I stumbled upon that, it was like the best day of my life. The one episode that, like, before we get to all the big stuff, the one episode that really sticks out to me was Liberty's dyslexia episode. One of the cast members, Liberty, she's very smart. She's known as like the smartest kid in the I said dyslexia, it's not dyslexia, but like she's known as one of the smartest kids in school, but she just can't get math. Like for some reason she can't get math. So she goes to her math teacher and is trying to get extra help. Emma, who was the real villain of the show
from episode 1.
Please let me know if you want more on this. Me and Asia have talked about doing a Degrassi podcast. We don't know. Anyways, but that's like a lot. It is. I know. I love it. One day, it'll be my dream to cover it. But anyways,
5 years.
It'll take forever. Emma sees Liberty and it's Mr. Armstrong together. Mr. Armstrong just happens to put his hand on her shoulder, and Emma starts a whole rumor that Liberty and Mr. Armstrong are together, gets him fired, all of this stuff. And come to find out, it's because Liberty has dyscalculia, which is like the math version of dyslexia. And it's one of those like minor, it's one of the like, in comparison to like Jimmy getting shot, it's one of those episodes that is like not a major plot point, but it's just one of the ones that stuck with me so much. And it's just known as like a groundbreaking kids television show because they were showing things that like at the time, like a lot of teen shows kind of try to shy away from, like, or it was just a new form of edgy because we were going into the millennium. You know, it was like the Euphoria of its time. Sadly.
It really
like,
was.
It really was. Yeah. And we're talking about, we saw like Paige's rape storyline was powerful. Marco coming out. I believe Degrassi was like one of the first shows to show like two guys kissing. Like one of the first teen shows to show that. Of course, the school shooting episode where Rick shoots Jimmy becomes paralyzed. Like Manny, season 3 is my favorite season where Manny I don't want to be cute, I want to be hot. So oh my god, I love Degrassi so much. One of my favorite shows.
So I remember my cousin was going up for Degrassi. Like she was very much in her Mari bag, and I remember it was like New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve or something like that. And Noggin was doing a Degrassi marathon because they were about to start the next season. And so it was like you had to do the like 24 hours straight of Degrassi to prep for the next season. And my cousin made me sit down and watch it. And if anybody's ever watched the show with me, Mari, you know this because you talked to me about a lot of TV shows. I got a lot of opinions. And so I'm like out the gate, like, I don't like her and I hate him. And, and it just goes to show you how many feelings you really get about a show that you can go from not caring about it all to really investing in with each of the characters, especially because we were around the same age. So these were, you know, characters that we could empathize with because we understood, you know, these were sensationalized and big moments for kids. But also, it wasn't that far out of the realm of possibility for us. You know, these are definitely situations that we could see ourselves in to an extent, probably, or some people more than others. And so, yeah, it was. I could see why it was magnetic. I did not drink all the Kool-Aid, but I did have a run where I watched enough of it to know that Emma was indeed the bad guy of the show. Paige was misunderstood. Manny also misunderstood. Liberty, they did her so wrong in the show. Why did they always make her look so frumpy? Like, you know, like God, for the love of God. Also, they played in Hazel's face. Jimmy, what are you doing? You know, so like, don't get me started. If you want to start the Degrassi podcast, I will be happy to guest and complain about certain people. Terry was robbed. I could just go on forever. Okay, so it's just it's poor Terry. But yeah, Mari. That being said, just an aside. Degrassi is very much one of those like teen shows that go there, they show the drama. But I don't know if I've ever heard you talk about any other show like Degrassi. Are you a fan of just like the teen dramas in general?
No, not really. Like I do like Euphoria. I do like watching. Like I just think Degrassi just really holds a special place in my heart because, like I said, we were the same age as those kids. And I just love the storytelling. And like I said, so much so that like in between Degrassi seasons, again, Degrassi message boards, rewatching old seasons. And then because I rewatched old seasons, I then ended up watching Degrassi High. Like I'm talking about like finding Degrassi High on the internet. Getting good grades so that my dad had to buy me the whole entire box collection of Degrassi High, which was 3 seasons. I believe it was either 3 or 4 seasons, and it was so old it was only available on VHS box set. So literally, it was this big old box of VHS tapes of the whole Degrassi High series. And I'm telling you, I got this the summer I was 16, like 2005. Like just watching that the summer of 16, because Degrassi High, the original, was so groundbreaking. Like even watching it 20 years later, I realized how groundbreaking it was because they showed Emma's mom, Spike. Actually gets pregnant at 13 in Degrassi High. And it's a complete fluke. Her and her boyfriend like lose their virginities to each other and she ends up getting pregnant. And she ends up becoming a teen mom, and she's actually a teen mom on Degrassi High. And then her baby daddy ends up getting really drunk one night in a party, and he I can't remember if he was like in a crash or he falls off a bridge or something, but he ends up injuring himself so much to the point where he's like he no longer
paralyzed,
cared for himself. He had to be taken care of. Like he had severe brain trauma. So it was just like, and that was something they did in the 80s. They did like STD scares in the 80s. Like a student found out he had HIV, I believe. It's such a groundbreaking teen show to me. It just really was. And I really think it was an outlet for kids to kind of see themselves.
Yeah, I watched it. You know, again, I didn't win the tap out. Mari, it seems like with anything, you have a knack for latching on to shows that last a little too long. Because Degrassi, Junior High, Next Generation. Did you end up watching the generation after the Next Generation, the new kids?
Next Class, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
See, that's what I'm saying. Between that and Grace, Mari, stand up. Mari, stand up.
Can't.
South Park was on for 20
Yep.
years. You just when you be in it, Mari, you be in it. Yeah.
And next class got like it wasn't like, oh, it went there because Degrassi already had went there. Next class was just like, what's going on? Like I'm
What
like
are you
I was
doing here?
old. Like I'm like
Yeah.
it was where
Yeah. Are
I'm
these
too
kids
old.
okay? Yeah. You're chilling. Get up. Tell the children to get up. Okay. Yeah, love hearing you talk about Degrassi.
Mhm.
Also, would have figured that one for you. I know you pretty well. All right, next up, what you got?
What is this? This 8?
Oh, I think so.
7, 8?
Okay, run over
We
the
have
list real quick. What have we done so far?
We did South Park.
South Park. Mm-hmm.
Okay. We did
We did Grey's Anatomy.
Big Brother.
Big Brother. Uh-huh.
Drag
We
Race.
did Drag Race. Mm-hmm.
Race. CSI. So
CSI. Degrassi.
mhm. Degrassi.
Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 7.
Oh God, this is 7. Oh my God, I feel like we're missing one. Anyways, next up, I can be quicker about these next.
I mean,
few
you're
because
fine. This your show.
That's So Raven. That's So Raven. I remember all of the like the lead up to it, like all of the ad spots, and I was like, what is this show? And I was like, I want to see the show. And when it premiered, like Raven Baxter being the funniest girl on the television show in Disney, watching her and her family, like just like the perfect family together, and then she had her friends. I loved that show. That was like one of my favorite. Like it was hard for me to decide between That's So Raven and Sister Sister, because I love them both equally. But I wanted to go with That's So Raven here because I just have a lot of fond memories of that show, and I feel like that show in itself was very different. Like, how did they get away? How did they get away with a teen psychic?
Oh yeah, they was on Miss Cleo ass. You called me now.
It seems like such an absurd premise, but Raven Simone,
Simone,
pulled it off so well and so funny. Like, I don't know, it was like seeing a black girl be funny on television, like holding her own, and just owning it was so inspiring to me.
Yeah, we grew up with Raven Simone. I grew up with Raven Simone, and then later found out I grew up with Raven Simone. But we grew up with her from the littlest one on the Cosby Show to Hanging with Mr. Cooper to her finally her having her own show on the Disney Channel, and it's such a big deal because what other black girl is doing it like this? Her own show on the Disney Channel. Hilary Duff had a show, right? Even Stevens was like the Shia LaBeouf show, but like. But this was her show, you know what I'm saying? And it's so impressive that she was able to do that at such a young age. This lady is like a media mogul. Like the way they talk about Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, they should talk about Raven Simone.
Yes.
And so and maybe they do. But like we need to make sure that we amplify that because Raven was out here paving the way for people to have their own spot. There are so many black girls that end up getting shows after Raven that you would argue that if not for That's So Raven, they probably wouldn't have that platform. So I'm not shocked by that at all. I wasn't a big That's So Raven person. I would definitely watch it if it was on. But but it was fun. It was a fun show. And I could see, growing up, people were talking about it. Like as kids, we were talking about That's So Raven at school.
Yeah, and it's not as deep as like some of the other stuff that I've talked about. It's just black joy. That's all it was. Like black comedy, just her being so incredibly funny. Like and still like being like, oh, this is for me. This is my little niche in Disney.
Yeah.
Because we're coming out of like maybe like let's say my next favorite, since we're at 7, 8 here. All that, you know what I'm saying?
Hey!
Like, all that. We've talked about all that on here. So if you haven't already, you can go listen to our brackets as we talk about the theme songs, and we talked about all that as a show. But we said it's groundbreaking. Like watching kids do a sketch comedy show that somebody wasn't paying attention because this is blackity black. Like
blackity black. Nickelodeon was in full effect.
Yes, like why did y'all have all of these black artists on here? So for real, I will never forget So For Real. Candy. Like I can like so good. And TLC, if you should know my love of TLC, if you are a listener here on
Well
Recap
documented. Well
Kickback, yes.
documented.
Them doing the theme song, and just again in line with just being funny, like being a kid and just seeing other kids be funny. I think that's the thing. It's like seeing your counterparts on TV being funny is like astounding to think of when you're a child.
No, absolutely. I agree. I think that some of the shows that I'm noticing with you obviously influence you as a professional, you know, with your love for science and stuff like that. Like those things are overlapping. But Mari, you are very, very funny. You are a very, very funny woman. And so, and I can see a lot of the influences that maybe like South Park or even all of that may have had for somebody, you know, as a young kid, you're digesting a lot of this ridiculous adult-ish comedy, you know, and adult themes, and then you're growing up and now utilizing it to do the podcast that you are. And so I really appreciate, you know, you throwing a shout out to all that, because I don't know if I would have put that in my top 10, but now that you mentioned it, I'm like, duh, of course it would be, right? So
yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But it's just those shows that are like where you're really sitting here like, could I have done that? And then I'm like, no, I could not have. But it makes you feel like it as a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like you wanted to get up there and clown with Kenan and Kel.
And Kenan Thompson will go on to have a storied career as one of the biggest comedians of all time, starting like with like his early like movie roles, obviously, but then being on all that in a sketch comedy show, and now being the longest running cast member in Saturday Night Live history.
Wow.
Like, dog, he grew up with us. You know, I was like, we know this man. So
he's so funny.
He's so funny. Yeah. And so yeah, check out Kenan's book too. I read it last year. When I Was Your Age, I believe is the name of the book. It's a longer title, but yeah, it starts there. But yeah, go read Kenan's book. It's great. Mari, that's number 8. We got 2 more to go. What you think?
I'm trying to think. I think I have to go with my love of historical fiction here, and I'm trying to figure out which TV show represents that love the best.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
I have a thought in my head, but I ain't gonna tell you until you say what it is, because I don't want to influence you at all.
Yes. And it's not that one, not yet. So
not that.
Not that one. Not yet. This is the real historical fiction. And I'm gonna go with the Tudors.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, I was not expecting this.
No. Yes. This is, I've said it before. I've said it on a lot of podcasts. I really love historical fiction. In 7th grade, I randomly, like, you know, we had Gotta Love No Child Left Behind, where they mandatorily made you read for 30 minutes at the beginning of the school day, where kids just mostly pretended to read clearly.
I've talked to these kids. I've talked to these people now that they're adults, and you were correct. They were not doing the readings. They were not.
I, on the other hand, was actually reading. And most of the time they'd be like, here is this random shelf of books. Feel free to grab one. And I just so happened, as a 12-year-old, grabbed a book by Carolyn Meyer, shout out to her, the author, called Mary Bloody Mary. And yes, Mary Bloody Mary. And it was about Mary Tudor, Henry VIII's daughter, who becomes known as Mary the First of England, who also becomes known as Bloody Mary. I read that book and I was like, oh my God, history is cool. And it started my love of reading about the Tudors and Henry VIII first. So I read about Mary. I think Carolyn Meyer's next book was about Queen Elizabeth, and but when she was a princess, and I read that. And then I discovered like Jean Plady, who is one of my favorite historical fiction authors, who actually has done a whole Plantagenet saga that talks about the lineage of the English monarchy from William the Conqueror. Like, for some reason, just English, the English monarchy is my zhush. And it started with the Tudors. It started with Henry VIII and his two daughters. So once I had read like every book I could about the Tudors, the show came on, and I was actually grown enough to watch it. I believe it came out, correct me if I'm wrong, Chappell, I want to say around 2006 or 2007. I want to say
it was 2007.
Yes, exactly. 2007. So when this came out, I loved it. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers as King Henry VIII, going through all of the wives. I was literally in the middle of a season 3 rewatch during Christmas break. Because I just something about that time period and getting lost in the royal politics of it all, and like history is fascinating. Like truth is stranger than fiction. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I love like English history, French history, European history. I do not like American history. I've said this too many times. I don't like American history. But
why? What about American history might be just like not fun for you to revisit? Anything in there just
like
particularly speak to you about
like 4 years of something or other,
and then stuff after that too, and then present day, like it just does. It don't slap. American history just don't slap.
It don't. Not as hard. Not as hard.
It don't go.
So I love history. I know a lot about world history. I took a lot of classes as I could, like elective classes on it. And the Tudors is one of my favorite shows. It was between the Tudors and Rome. I don't know if a lot of people know about Rome. The Tudors was from Showtime. Rome was on HBO. Rome is such a good show. That one came out, I want to say in 2009 or 2010. That one came a little later, and it is where all our Owen fans. I don't know, all 2 of you, Owen, Dr. Hunt from Grey's Anatomy.
Zero fans, zero friends. Yeah, nothing there.
He is actually the main character on Rome, and it's so good. And it talks about like Julius Caesar, Mark Antony. It's so good. It's so good. Cleopatra makes of course she makes an appearance near the end. I want to say it was 2 or 3 seasons, one of the 2. I can't remember. Very good show. So that and the Tudors, I would say I say the Tudors because I've actually rewatched that more times than Rome, but I loved a lot of those shows. The Tudors, Rome, Spartacus on Stars, The White Queen on Stars. Stars is really good at historical fiction. So I love any show like that. I normally watch. I'm gonna save the big one for last. And I have to go with another HBO show, which is gonna be weird. It's fighting for a spot with the other one that people know, but I gotta go with Oz.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
Out.
Plot twist here. Okay.
Exactly. Because of course it was between Oz and The Wire. But Oz, I again watched as a kid when I should not have watched as a kid. And something about, have you seen Oz?
When I was a child, but I don't remember Oz enough. Like, okay, so here's the thing. As a young male watching Oz, I'm very quickly like, whew, never mind. You turn it on, you're like, oh my God, heavens, and then you turn it off, for a number of reasons, obviously. But, I was talking about earlier how I love Law and Order SVU. Oz will make you not love Law and Order SVU, if you know what I'm saying. You're like, oh my God. No wonder why Olivia won't leave,
Oz will put you on the straight and narrow. Like Oz, I think Oz as a TV show single-handedly is what put like prison rape into like the cultural knowledge of people.
Yeah.
I love that show. Like Harold Perrineau, I still only see him and think of I think Augustus from like that's the only. There are characters. There are literal characters there on it that from Oz that I still only think of them as their Oz characters. Like Mayhem, like that's what I call him. Mayhem. Like that. he was a main character on Oz, and it took me forever. It took a lot of commercials, the life insurance commercials, yeah, to make me think of it. For those who don't know, Oz is a prison show from HBO. You might know what, I don't know what year it premiered. I just again know I was way too young watching it.
1997. It was around the same time you started watching South Park.
Yeah, exactly. Like Oz, I had like, it was one of those shows I had to sneak and watch. I just remember being like, what is happening? You know what I'm saying? Like it was so fascinating to me, like the inner workings of prison, and like it again, that true crime thread, and it's carried over to now, because of course, if people listen to me, they know I watch 60 Days In. I love 60 Days In. We just watched that Netflix one, Chappell, with the, you watch that, right? The one,
that was really good.
What was it called? I forget what it was called. The one where they let the prisoners out. They basically let the prisoners
let them. Was it Unlocked?
Unlocked, yes, a prison experiment. Yeah. Like, I don't know why prisons fascinate me from this side, because I know I'm not going to jail. Like,
you're like, number one, I'll never be that.
I will never do that. There is I will not be in jail. You will not have.
So you're not taking me alive, coppers.
But I don't know. I have no clue why it drew, why I was drawn to that show as a kid. It just, I think it's like that prestige acting. I think that's one of the first prestige shows in HBO, even though like it's weird because again, a lot of them are rape, but it was one of those shows that was so well acted. The storylines were devastating. Like I don't like, again, it's not as like near and dear to my heart as Degrassi, but the storylines of exploring like male relationships in prison, and fucking Stabler, look at him. You are so lucky. You are so lucky you got that Law and Order.
You're so lucky you're Elliot. Yeah.
I met Adebisi when I was an extra in a movie.
Really?
Yeah, he's
what
really,
movie was you an extra in?
I was an extra in Tears of the Sun, the Bruce Willis movie.
Really? I know that movie.
You know that movie? Yes.
Yeah.
I was an extra in the African prison camp, refugee camp. I was in the deleted scenes, and you can see my shoulder in the actual movie. But I was like 14, getting paid like $100 some a day. So I was just like, just to be black in the sun.
Right. That's it. That's all.
Great. But I got to meet
Mari. So yeah, you won.
I got to meet Adebisi's. I got to meet the southern black dude who I don't think he's been in much since. Monica Bellucci, is that her name? Monica, I think that's the main lady in the movie. She actually sat and talked to us. She was really nice. I didn't get to meet Bruce Willis.
Damn.
He was. Yeah. So Oz, like one of the storylines that really stuck with me is Stabler's character fell in love with the other dude, Beecher, I think his name. They fell in love in prison. They were like trying to not be in love, but they were in love. Beecher gets out, and Stabler's character sets him up to get him put back in. Prison.
Yeah.
Cold.
It's real love. Real
Cold.
love, y'all. Yeah. Love hurts, they say.
Yes.
Mari, so you started watching this as a child. I'm assuming you weren't watching it live though, right? Or were you 8 years old watching this?
No. I'm pretty sure it was later in the 2000s when I was watching it.
And so, but you and your mom had a good relationship. You told your mom, "Hey, I'm watching Oz," and she was like, "Okay, just don't shank nobody."
That was probably what I'd have to ask her. I don't think she knew.
She's like, "I don't think I told her."
A lot of like HBO stuff, and
yeah. Because it got like, you think Degrassi got real? HBO got real at night.
Yeah. So just inappropriate. But I like that. I got to, and we got to talk about the last one, the big one.
How is that not the last one? What is our? I think we have our top 10 here. We got South Park, Grey's Anatomy, Big Brother, Drag Race, CSI, Degrassi, That's So Raven, All That, The Tudors, and Oz.
Oh fuck!
Rounding out the top 10.
I miscounted. It's fine.
Well,
Let's 11.
Well, let's talk about. Let's go to some notable snubs, and then we can let you talk about number
There's
11.
no notable snubs. I miscounted, so there's what I have to talk about. We'll take one of them out.
Okay, let's say we didn't just talk about Mari watching prison rape at 11 years old. Mari, you started watching a different kind of rape at a grown age. Let's talk about Game of Thrones.
Oh, rude. Oh, rude.
So we're not talking about Game of Thrones?
We are talking about Game of Thrones, but that's just a little much.
Mari, I would have guessed that Game of Thrones was on your list. Yes. And I felt like I was right until you said Oz, and now I feel a little bit better.
I lost count. I thought Oz was 9.
Yeah, no, Oz was definitely.
We
10.
Weren't keeping count as it went, so
we were not.
And I don't have a list. I have like there's like 12. There's like 15, and I was picking out I was going. So
no, makes total sense. We gotta talk about Game of Thrones, Mari.
You and I don't know, but Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Okay, wait. So hold on, no, pause, because you went with the Tudors on purpose.
I did.
In front of Game of Thrones. You did not go with Oz on purpose. So I'm gonna assume that Game of Thrones has the spot, and then Oz will later on will be a notable snub. How about that?
There we go. Switch it around. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Mari, tell me about Game of Thrones.
I don't know. I feel like I've said it so many times. So, but for the uninitiated, I love Game of Thrones. I read all of the books several times, multiple times. I read the offshoot books. I read the short stories. Game of Thrones, and I'm not a sci-fi girly. I don't know if you guys noticed, there's really not much sci-fi in there, especially in stuff that I read and stuff.
Which is crazy because you like science and you like fiction, but not science fiction.
So for anybody who's been living under a rock for 14 years, Game of Thrones is one of the highest rated, most watched TV shows of all time on HBO. It's based in the mythical world of Westeros, and it's basically about people trying to claim the Iron Throne. And it's based on a book series that is still unfinished by George R. R. Martin. We have been waiting 13 years since the last book. He's just doing it out of spite now.
Yeah, because y'all told him he didn't have no choice but to write another book, and he said, "Nah, watch me. I'm gonna make you wait on it."
Let me go and check. I remember when I used to check his website every day.
He's not writing that book. Mari and I, for the people who are new here on Recap Kickback, we actually did not talk about Game of Thrones on here, but we did talk about the spinoff to Game of Thrones. We talked about House of the Dragon last summer, and talking about House of the Dragon with Mari has been one of my greatest joys as a podcaster, because you like to see people cook. You like to see people in their bag. Mari was in her bag. She basically was telling the show what they could have done better. And I appreciate Mari for doing that. But she gave us a lot of insight into the book, into what they were, the different, the way the book outlined things. We made space for the book readers for sure. So if you haven't checked out the Westeros Kickback, please go onto our website, recapkickback.com, scroll on back and go to the Westeros Kickback and look at our playlist for the Westeros, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon coverage here on Recap Kickback. Also on our YouTube page, there should be a Recap Kickback Westeros Kickback playlist as well. But we talked about it and got really into the ins and outs of what it looks like when you're battling for the Iron Throne before there is an Iron Throne. So so much fun talking to Mari about that. Mari, what is it about Game of Thrones? Why Game of Thrones?
God, I'm so mad at this man. Because like I said, the love of monarchy fiction, royalty fiction, and stuff like that has always I've always had that love. And once I ran out of actual history, it was really fun to escape to a fantasy world based on that history that I knew. For people who might not know, when George R. R. Martin writes the books of Game of Thrones, he's written so many companion pieces to it. One of the biggest ones being The World of Ice and Fire, which is basically a history book of the history of Westeros, and a lot of that history is like kind of nuancely based on actual historical events. So we'll kind of take some historical events and kind of like flip them. So like it's fun. You know what I'm saying? It's fun. It's so easy to like pick a team. It's like sports. He kind of made it so it's like sports. You know what I'm saying? There's houses, there's the Starks, the Lannisters, the Baratheons. He gave them colors, he gave them sigils. So it's just like with Harry Potter, you know, I love the Harry Potter books as well. It's you can claim your team and then ride in with the merch and the badges and just be like, yeah, House Stark till I die. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of like gang warfare. And then on top of that, in the books and in the show, anybody could get it. I remember I didn't even want to watch the show. Like James was like, "Oh, there's this show coming on. It's called Game of Thrones. We should watch it." I was like, "I don't know. What is this? Is this fake? I don't like fake fiction." And he's like, "Well, let's watch it." And we watched the first episode. Dude gets his head cut off by the White Walker in like the first 5 minutes. I was like, "Okay, we're in
He
it."
gets pushed out the window. It's a lot going
By
on.
the end of the episode of the premiere, Bran is out the freaking window. And then it was just a cultural phenomenon because we're like out of school. Like I'm out of school, but James is still going to school. Half of our friends are still going to school. We're still in the area. We're like, people are coming to our apartment, and we just happen. Everybody's like, "Oh, we're watching Thrones. You watching Thrones? All right, come to our apartment. Everybody, come to our house. Come watch Thrones at our house for season 1, episode 9." And
great timing.
We're all sitting there watching the show. There's like 10 of us. We're just chilling. And we're like, "Oh, okay. What?" I didn't read the books. Season 1 was completely unspoiled for me. I didn't read the books. And all of us were like, "Oh, we're on that type of timing?"
That's what we own in this show. Yeah.
And it's been full throttle ever since. After that season, I said, "Okay, I'm just gonna read book 1. Season 1 is over. Let me read book 1. It's fine." Yeah. I read book 1. The season was so like spot on. The book was amazing. I was like, "Okay, well, I can read book 2 before season 2 comes out. It's fine." I read that, and then I just read all the books. It was like at that point is we already had the five books, and I read them all, and I was like, "C'est la vie." Watched all the episodes. We're still waiting on is it the 6th book or the 5th book? At this point, I forgot because I don't know why George R.R. Martin would go this long without making a book. Like the apathy that is now within me is so annoying. Like I remember. Oh yeah, but I'm gonna read it once it drops.
Right, because if that book drops tomorrow, you will be the first one to purchase.
I will be mad. Yeah, because I could have been joyful if this has happened like 10 years ago. But whatever.
Yeah.
It's that show.
Yeah. Check it out. If you haven't watched Game of Thrones, what are you waiting on? I will tell you I had a very different viewing experience than Mari did, but I enjoyed it when I enjoyed it. And then
right. Yeah, you did say that.
I was like, I'm off the boat. But I watched it all, and then I watched House of the Dragon. And if you do go out and catch up on all of those shows, you don't have to watch Game of Thrones to watch House of the Dragon. So you can just go watch House of the Dragon if you want to. But if you do go back and watch all of that, make sure you tune in to the Westeros Kickback and check out all of the stuff me and Mari talked about when we just, dove into the Game of Thrones world.
And we will be going back to Westeros this year. Remember?
We are. New show is entering the villa.
The Hedge Knight is coming. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to figure out what they're settling on for the title. I don't know if it might be a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. But it's based on the Hedge Knight mini series books. There's 3 Hedge Knight stories featuring Duncan the Tall, and it takes place approximately, oh my god, it's like 50 years after. It's like right in the middle between Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon.
Okay, well, we'll be back with more House of Dragon, Game of Thrones, Hedge Knight coverage.
A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is what it's going to be called.
Yeah, and that will be a fun time when it comes. Mari, this has been great. Combo butt. Some notable snubs on my end, because I did make a list of what I thought you might have.
Oh, I want to hear this.
Okay. Well, obviously Game of Thrones was one that I was like, Oz over Game of Thrones, a choice. Um,
You weren't
Mari,
keeping. Yes.
where is Insecure?
Oh yeah, I forgot about Insecure. Sue me, sue me. It happens because this was last minute.
I mean, well, I'm glad you said sue you because I was really looking for Maxine Shaw, attorney at law.
Living
Where's
single.
Living
Yes,
Single?
it was on there. I was battling. Like I said, I wanted everybody to get the full scope of
Mm-hmm.
who I was. So I know. They're all up there. They're all up
Oh,
there.
those were the 2/3, if you
Mhm.
want to count Game of Thrones, big ones that I was just waiting on
Yeah,
to come up, and they did not.
yeah,
And so, but this was so much fun. I feel like I got to
yeah.
know you so much better, and I think this is a good format. I think they're like, we definitely could talk about movies one day. We of course need to circle back and talk about my 10 best TV shows at some point. But this was great, and I appreciate this because now we know kind of like how Mari ended up the mad scientist comedian that she is.
Yes, 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 yes,
Yeah.
yes. This was fun. This was a great idea. Thank you, Chappelle, for coming up with it. I'm so glad we could just talk about some of my favorite TV shows. And honestly, I'm not gonna beat myself up about it. It's my list.
It
It's
is your
it's
list.
what happens. It
Yeah.
was all fun. So let us know what y'all favorite TV shows are.
Ooh,
Your thoughts.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, thoughts about Mari's for sure. So yeah, Mari, this is great. Well, we have to come back next week to talk about something else. Our goal is to get to the movies or to find a bootleg for one of them days.
I'm gonna try and get to the movies.
We gotta figure out a way to watch that. Are we gonna do
Mhm.
we are we planning on having a guest? Did you decide on
Yes, Latanya said we're
Latanya?
gonna get the Insecure gang back together soon enough.
Okay. Latanya's another person who I would love to hear her 10 best TV shows
Me
according to
too.
Latanya. So yeah, that might be a good way to kind of ease her into that conversation. Let's try to go
Let
see one of them days in the next week.
let us know if you guys like this series. If you want us to do this with more people, we're definitely gonna get Chappelle's because if he gonna put me on the spot, he gonna be on the spot.
I mean, I'm the host,
Um,
so I gotta make sure,
yeah,
we
no, no, no,
get
no,
done.
no.
It's about, the co-host this time. We
Nah,
don't
nah,
worry
nah.
about me later on.
Let us know
Yeah.
who you want to hear their favorite TV shows. So
Yeah. Because we got
it's
a
fun.
good little
It's real
rotation here
fun.
on Recap Kickback, and this was so much fun. I'm glad we did this. We should have did this earlier. Um,
Mm.
but Mari, tell everybody where they can find you and what you're working on in the meantime.
You can find me on Blue Sky. You can find me in my little blissful bubble on Blue Sky. Like I said, call me Galinda. I bubble. At Mari Talks Too Much. That's two, like the number two. You can always, again, find me on Crime Scene by going to crimescenepod.com in order to subscribe. We are at Crime Scene Pod on Blue Sky as well. And we're still on Twitter on that one, but whatever. Also, Married at First Sight, me, Jason, and Asia are covering season 18 of Married at First Sight. So I've been popping in. I popped in for the last two episodes, so you can go check us out. We're on the Love at First Sight feed on RHAP. You can go to the RHAP YouTube page to watch that. And that's about it. So just keep your eye on the Recap Kickback feed.
Yeah. Stay here. Stay tuned. Make sure you check
Yeah.
us out on what we got going on over here. Like I said earlier, we got Abbott Elementary coverage with me and Gia every other week. We just dropped How to Ruin Christmas, The Funeral. And so make sure you go check that out. Again, South African comedy and drama and a mess of a show. We got the funeral already done. We got the wedding already done. And when Gia comes back from vacation, that girl in Haiti, when she comes back from Jamaica and
Oh.
Haiti and all these other places she's at, living my best life without me, then we're going to talk about How to Ruin Christmas, the baby shower, I believe, or something like that. So, more to come over there. And then Tyrone and I will be back to talk about the madness. And of course, we are practicing and getting ready and warming up for the year anniversary of Recap Kickback coming in February. And I think we're going to celebrate our birthday all month. So February is going to be jam-packed with a lot of different type of content, including top 10 lists, rankings, whatever. We come up with some games, but make sure you stay tuned and email us at Recap Kickback, recapkickback at gmail.com. And mention us, DM us on all social media platforms at Recap Kickback if you want to let us know what it is that you want us to talk about here on the podcast. But that's it. Until next time, until we come back to talk about something else, for Mari and for myself, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. We will talk to you all next time. Peace.
I've been trapped behind Swan Maria, isolated like it's North Korea. Smaller city with some bigger dreamers. The wall is cracked, I'm looking in between it. The world is yours, but man, I gotta see it. They say it's hard, but man, I gotta see it. The air I'm breathing can't feel my chest. Wait on life, I wanna hold my breath. I'ma get in my goddamn self.